Alright guys, so this is another fanfiction idea, and this one is basically because now Sandman has gotten so big, and I've never really done a Sandman video. I don't think I've ever really touched on Sandman, mostly because I'm not the biggest Sandman fan. Hold up! Let me explain. Sandman is very expansive, and I do love it. I really do like it. It's of course seminal stuff from Neil Gaiman. It's definitely going to be remembered as not just a great comic book, it's going to be remembered as a great piece of literacy. Of literature, excuse me. But I I love it, but it's so expansive and so and I do know it, and I have watched the show, which is really good. But I never really saw doing story ideas, because I'm like, the reason why I don't really do a lot of Sandman story ideas is mostly because I literally could not I feel like I could not do anything justice with anything Sandman. So the only Sandman I could do anything with is, well, Spider-Man Sandman, or maybe Wesley Dodd from Justice Society, but we're past that. Anyway, so this is going to be the closest I'm going to come to a good Sandman story, and this is, as you can see, Sandman Hellsing. So a crossover between Sandman and Hellsing, which would be a lot of fun. I do think Hellsing would definitely, actually, you could really put Hellsing in the universe of Sandman, or Sandman in the universe of Hellsing, and it would go, and they both fit perfectly, like they've always belonged together in a way. So let's talk about how this crossover would go. So the story is that Saris wakes up from a horrible nightmare. She wakes from a horrible, horrible nightmare that disturbs her so bad she throws open the coffin and just crawls out, and is it's like one of those nightmares you have where you're just it's so intense, you're up and you're sweating, and you're feel for a hot second if it was all a dream, or was it something are you still in the dream, or was it, you almost felt like you were gonna die, is what I'm saying. It felt like that's how intense it was as a dream for Saris. And it turns out she's not the only one who had that. Turns out Alucard had the similar thing, and that's more disturbing because Alucard looked like he was afraid for a hot second, and Saris, since she's one of his servants, since she is of Alucard, she basically felt his fear. She keeps it to herself. She doesn't tell Integra or anything, or even Walter. She basically goes, "I felt your fear," and Alucard goes, "Don't you ever say that again." Because, yeah, she felt that Alucard was afraid in this nightmare. And, yeah, it turns out that literally it wasn't just those two. There was a string of nightmares, but here's the thing. All the people who had these really intense nightmares were all vampires. All across the world, and some of them made them so hostile that they went, into a frenzy, it was driven to madness. And Alucard is so we're dealing with some kind of weird dream thing. So he already knows, something's up. He's already aware that he's already, on to what's going on. So Alucard basically is I know what's going on. Or I have a sense of what's going on, but I'm wondering what the purpose is. That's his whole thing is I'm curious as to what the purpose was of doing this to begin with, because he wouldn't do this without a reason. Did he just decide that vampires are no longer worthy of dreaming? Who knows? And Saris is what are you talking about? And he goes, "I need to visit the Sandman." So Alucard more or less reveals that he's in his immortality, he has learned ancient arcane magic to traverse into the dream realm, so into the world of dreams, and he uses it to send himself mentally. He doesn't have a soul, so he can't travel through an astral form, but he can he can send his consciousness into the dream world and speak to Dream himself. And he's if there was any being I was scared of, and he tells Saris, I'm going to tell you this, but you're never going to tell anyone else. Of all the people in the world, in the universe, I'm ever afraid of, he is the one. He is the one I've always been afraid of. Every time I close my eyes, I fear him. Um, and it would stand to, yeah, it would make sense, like, Alucard would be scared of Dream. So, but he's like, and Ceres is like, if you're scared of him because if he's so powerful, like, why are you going to go see him? And he's like, I'm not just going to see him. There's someone else I'm going to go see. So Alucard goes into the dream realm, and he basically confronts. He's looking for Dream, and he runs into Merv, and Merv goes, Dream's not gonna look at you, man. You're not welcome here for what you did. So we find out that Alucard, basically what had happened was, during his days of Vlad the Impaler, tried to invoke the dark magic of the same kind of magic that captured Dream the first time in the original comic. And basically, what happened was it backfired and Dream tortured him throughout the dream realm. So that would be like, he basically made Alucard... You know that scene in where a Dream disassembles the Corinthian and then turns to the serial killer convention and makes them all feel the guilt and sadness of what they've done? He does that to Alucard as when he's Vlad the Impaler. So it's like that. So they don't want to see it, but he's like, look, I think something's up and I need to speak to him now. And that's when Dream himself shows up. That's when good old Morpheus shows up, and he's like, Alucard, or do you prefer Count Dracula? I can never tell with you. And he's like, look, something happened. I was like, yeah, I know. Every vampire on the planet was driven to madness through their dreams. Shocking that you didn't, but whatever. So Dream reveals that his helm was stolen from him by someone, and Alucard's like, do you know who it is? And he's like, they're shielding themselves from me, but I have a good idea as to who. A certain common enemy of mine, but it's not the one you think of. He basically like surmises that it was his dream helmet was stolen by Iscariot, and they're using this to exterminate vampires by bringing them out into the daylight in public so they can just wipe them all out at once, and keep doing this over and over again until every vampire is driven to the point of madness and flush them all out. So, and Alucard is like, alright, I'll go get your helm back and then we're square. And he's like, if you want to believe that, sure. And Alucard goes, there is someone else I want to see. And he's like, you're not seeing her. And he's like, I want to, though. So, in here, basically, sorry about that. But anyway, like I was saying, so we basically find out that Alucard, and even Integra, when she finds out Alucard's little thing of going to the dream world, she basically says, he went to go talk to him and go see her. And Ceres is like, what are you talking about, ma'am? And Integra says, aside from me, there's only been ever one woman Alucard has ever loved. And she reveals Alucard is in love with Death, Dream's sister, one of the Endless. Yeah. He basically fell in love with her because he could see he was causing so much carnage and death in his days as the Impaler and as the King of Vampires, to the point where she would see him all the time, and every time he killed someone, he would find himself being drawn closer and closer to her. But she would always either spur him or leave him. And we find out that, like, I killed all these people for you, isn't that what you want, Death? And she's like, no, I never want that. I am a custodian. I'm not a collector of people. I give these people their rest. I don't do this for some great, for some sick carnage. I'm not like that. I do this because it's necessary. I do this because it's a necessary thing, and what you're doing is just evil, and what you are is repulsive to me, because it would stand to reason someone whose whole thing is death would find someone undead who's basically an unnatural imbalance to what she does repulsive. So, but Alucard is like enamored by her and wants to be with her. So there's that chestnut. But by the Alucard is like, one day you will be, you and I will be together, and if not, I can always find my way to you one way or another. And yeah, he does recover the helm, brings it back to Dream, and Dream is like, I know what to do. So basically, for the rest of Enrico Maxwell's life, and everyone and every agent in Iscariot are basically, every night they're going to be given dreams of knowing the fact their god doesn't love them. And that's going to just drive them mad. Like, they just have the shocking truth now that God will never love them. So, there you go. So, there you go, guys. That is pretty much my Sandman Hellsing crossover. So, you guys tell me in the comments below, what did you guys think of this story? Did you guys like it? Hate it? Comment below, let me know. I'm really curious to see what you guys think of this because, yeah, this is the first time I think I've done like a Sandman crossover. I could be wrong, but yeah, I think this is the first time I've done a Sandman story, and let me know if you want to see more. Other than that, as always, if you haven't already, hit the link below, head on over to my Patreon to check out exclusive content. Other than that, I'm Mr. Multiverse. I'll see you next time in the Multiverse.